Money can't buy happiness, but it can certainly buy revenge, especially when your toxic family doesn't know you're worth $500 million. I learned that lesson the hard way last month when my own sister and parents tried to destroy my career, not realizing they were actually attacking the company's owner. I'm Jennifer Zhang, though most people know me as Jen. On paper, I'm the newly appointed Chief Operations Officer of Palmer Technologies, a mid-sized software company in Austin. What my family doesn't know is that 3 months ago, I became the majority shareholder through a series of quiet acquisitions using a holding company. The story of how we got here starts 15 years ago, when I was a scholarship student at MIT while my younger sister Angela attended UCLA on our parents' dime. "Angela needs the support," Mom would say. "You've always been so independent, Jen." Independent wasn't the word for it. I worked 3 jobs to cover expenses, coded freelance projects until my eyes burned, and lived on ramen while Angela posted Instagram stories from Cabo's spring break. But I had a plan. Technology was my passion, and I knew the sacrifices would pay off. They did, spectacularly. By 27, I'd founded and sold 2 successful startups, though I kept that information quiet. On paper, I looked like a moderately successful tech executive. In reality, I had hundreds of millions carefully invested through various shells and holding companies. Why the secrecy? Because I'd watched money destroy too many families. I saw how my parents' blatant favoritism toward Angela had intensified when they thought I was struggling financially. Their pride in her modest success as a marketing manager was matched only by their condescension toward my risky tech career. "You should let Angela help you find a stable corporate job," Mom would suggest during family dinners. "She has such good connections." I let them believe what they wanted. Let them think I needed their approval, their connections, their validation. Meanwhile, I was building something bigger than they could imagine. 3 months ago, I orchestrated my masterpiece, the quiet acquisition of Palmer Technologies, where I've been working as a VP for the past year. The company was undervalued but had incredible potential. Using a maze of holding companies and investment vehicles, I purchased a controlling interest without anyone realizing the true buyer's identity. The board appointed me COO as part of the transition, not realizing they were actually hiring their new owner. I took the role because I genuinely loved the company and wanted to help lead its transformation from the inside. Angela's reaction to my promotion was predictable. "Must be nice to finally catch a break," she said during our monthly family dinner. "Though I hope you're not in over your head. Corporate leadership is very different from just writing code." Mom and Dad exchanged concerned looks. "Maybe Angela could mentor you," Mom suggested. "She's been in corporate management for years." I bit back a laugh, thinking about the acquisition documents sitting in my safe. "I'll keep that in mind." But Angela wasn't content with condescension. My promotion had disrupted her carefully maintained narrative of superiority. She'd always been the successful one, the daughter with the prestigious corporate career, while I was just the nerdy coder who couldn't climb the ladder. The first sign of trouble came when Angela began showing up at Palmer Technologies for lunch with mid-level managers, casually gathering information about my role and responsibilities. I watched through my office window as she charmed her way through the departments, playing the concerned sister worried about my ability to handle such a big job. Then came the anonymous emails to HR, suggesting I had faked my credentials. Those were easily disproven, but the intent was clear. Someone was trying to undermine me. "I'm just looking out for you," Angela said sweetly when I confronted her. "Everyone knows tech companies promote women too quickly these days because of diversity quotas. I'd hate to see you fail publicly." I let her play her games, curious to see how far she would go. The answer came yesterday in the form of a thick envelope delivered to the board of directors. Inside was a meticulously crafted dossier of evidence suggesting I had been embezzling company funds, falsifying reports, and engaging in insider trading. Bank statements had been expertly doctored, emails cleverly fabricated, all pointing to massive fraud orchestrated by the new COO. The board called an emergency meeting for Friday morning. Angela must have learned about it through her network of lunch companions, because last night she could barely contain her glee. "The board wants me there tomorrow," she announced at dinner, eyes glittering. "Apparently there's going to be a major leadership change. Mom, Dad, you should come too. For moral support." They agreed eagerly, though neither bothered to ask why I wasn't invited to this meeting about my own job. What my family doesn't know is that I spent the night in my home office, preparing my own dossier. Every lunch meeting Angela had conducted with my employees, every piece of personal information she had gathered under false pretenses, every manipulative email she had sent trying to gather dirt, all of it meticulously documented. More importantly, I finally prepared the documents revealing Palmer Technologies' true ownership structure. Tomorrow morning, my family will learn exactly who they've been trying to destroy. I should be angry. I should be hurt that my own sister would try to ruin my career, that my parents would happily attend my professional execution. But sitting here in my home office, surrounded by evidence of their betrayal, I feel oddly calm. You see, Angela's scheming has given me something invaluable. A perfect opportunity to address not just her sabotage, but decades of family dysfunction. Sometimes the most effective lessons come from letting people believe they've won, right up until the moment they realize they've lost everything. The board meeting is scheduled for 9 a.m. My family will be there expecting to watch my downfall. Instead, they're about to learn why you should never underestimate the quiet one who was just a coder. The stage is set, the players are in position, and for once, I'm looking forward to a board meeting. I arrived at the Palmer Technologies office early Friday morning, wanting to observe my family's grand entrance. Right on schedule, they swept into the lobby at 8:45 a.m. Angela in her power suit, mom and dad dressed for what they assumed would be their successful daughter's triumph over their failing one. "Is the board ready for us?" Angela asked the receptionist, practically vibrating with anticipation. Her smile reminded me of when we were kids, and she'd secretly broken my science fair project the night before judging. I watched through my office window as they were escorted to the main conference room. Board members filed in shortly after, looking appropriately grave. Everyone had received my instruction email about playing along with the initial proceedings. At precisely 9 a.m., I wheeled my chair back from my desk and headed for the conference room. Time to start the show. Marcus Chen, our board chairman, was mid-sentence when I entered. "These allegations against Ms. Zhang are extremely serious." "Sorry I'm late," I announced cheerfully, taking my usual seat. Angela's head snapped up, her perfect smile faltering. "Jen, this is a closed board meeting. You weren't invited," she hissed, shooting panicked looks at the board members. I smiled serenely. "Actually, I invited myself. You see, it's somewhat difficult to have a board meeting without the owner of the company." The silence that followed was absolutely perfect. Angela's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Mom's carefully styled hair seemed to deflate along with her smug expression. Dad's face turned an interesting shade of purple. "What are you talking about?" Angela finally managed. "Palmer Technologies is owned by shareholders. It's a public company." "Correction," I said, nodding to my assistant who began distributing folders to everyone present. Palmer Technologies was a public company until 3 months ago, when it was purchased by Zhang Innovations Holdings. Would you like to guess who owns that? I watched realization dawn on the board members' faces as they reviewed the documents. Many of them had wondered about the recent buyout but hadn't known the identity of their new owner. "This is ridiculous," Angela sputtered. "You can't afford? You're just a coder?" I finished for her. "Yes, you've mentioned that. Repeatedly, along with many other things actually. Sharon, could you play the recordings, please?" My assistant activated the conference room's audio system. Angela's voice filled the room. "Look, between us, my sister's not qualified for this position. I'm worried she'll embarrass the company. Have you noticed any unusual transactions in her department?" Recording after recording played. Every lunch meeting, every manipulative conversation, every attempt to gather dirt on me. Angela sank lower in her chair as her careful scheme unraveled. "And then there's this," I continued, holding up the envelope she'd sent to the board. "Falsified evidence of financial crimes, forged documents, attempted corporate sabotage. Tell me, Angela, did you really think no one would verify these allegations before acting on them?" "I was trying to protect the company," she burst out. "You're not qualified for this role. You've never been the successful one, the smart one. I'm the one who deserves to be exposed for corporate espionage." I finished quietly, "to be reported to the SEC for attempting to manipulate stock prices with false allegations. To lose your own job when your employer learns about your actions." The blood drained from her face. Mom finally found her voice. "Surely you wouldn't do that to your own sister. Like she wouldn't try to destroy my career?" I turned to face my parents. Like you wouldn't come here to watch it happen. We were just supporting Angela. Dad protested weakly. She said you were in trouble. No, I cut him off. You were doing what you've always done. Assuming Angela knows best, that she has my interests at heart, that her success somehow makes her more worthy of support and respect. I stood up, addressing the board. I apologize for the theatrical nature of this meeting, but I needed everyone to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Ms. Zhang, Angela, has committed several serious crimes in her attempt to sabotage my position here. Her actions have exposed this company to potential legal and regulatory risks. Marcus Chen cleared his throat. What would you like us to do, Ms. Zhang? I sat back down, folding my hands on the table. First, I want it on record that the board has reviewed and dismissed all allegations against me as categorically false. Second, I want a formal letter sent to Angela's employer detailing her actions, including the recordings and falsified documents. Her attempts at corporate espionage should be part of her professional record. You can't, Angela shrieked. You'll destroy my career. Like you tried to destroy mine? I asked mildly. The difference is, these are real documents showing real actions you actually took, not fabricated evidence designed to frame an innocent person. I turned back to the board. I also want it noted that Angela Zhang and our parents are permanently banned from Palmer Technologies property. Any attempt to contact our employees or interfere with company business will result in immediate legal action. Jen, please, Mom was crying now, her mascara running. We're family. Family? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Family supports each other. Family celebrates success instead of trying to destroy it. Family doesn't forge documents to get someone fired because their ego can't handle someone else's achievements. I pulled out one final document, a copy of my first company's acquisition agreement from 5 years ago. Do you want to know the real irony? I've been more successful than Angela for years. I sold my first company for $50 million when I was 27. My second sold for $180 million 2 years later. I could have bought that country club membership you wanted so badly, Dad. Could have funded those luxury vacations you were always taking Angela on, Mom. They stared at the document, at the numbers that shattered their carefully maintained family mythology. But I wanted to succeed on my own terms, I continued. I wanted to build something meaningful, not just buy status. I kept my wealth quiet because I wanted to see who would support me when they thought I was struggling. You failed that test spectacularly. Angela had started crying. But they weren't her usual manipulative tears. She looked truly broken, perhaps for the first time in her life. You're firing me from my job, she whispered. No, I replied. I'm letting your own actions fire you, the same way you tried to do to me. The difference is you actually did what you're being accused of. I stood up again, gathering my papers. The board meeting is adjourned. Marcus, please ensure all the documentation is properly filed. Mom, Dad, Angela, security will escort you out. Wait. Angela called as I reached the door. Please, I'm sorry, I was jealous. I couldn't stand that you were finally doing better than me. We can fix this, can't we? We're still family. I turned back one last time. You know what the difference is between us, Angela. When you thought I was struggling, you tried to knock me down further. When I succeeded, I kept it quiet to avoid making you feel inferior. That's the difference between real success and whatever game you've been playing. The next few weeks were interesting. Angela did lose her job when her employer learned of her corporate espionage attempt. Mom and Dad's friends at the country club suddenly developed a new respect for their other daughter when the truth about my success leaked out. I received multiple tearful voicemails, written apologies, even a letter from Angela's therapist saying she was doing the work to understand her toxic behavior. I archived them all without responding. 3 months later, I was working late when my assistant announced an unexpected visitor. It was Angela, looking very different from the polished corporate climber who tried to destroy me. She'd lost weight, cut her hair short, and wore simple business casual attire instead of her usual designer suits. I'm not staying, she said quickly, holding up a hand when I started to speak. I need to say something. She placed a thick envelope on my desk. This is every password, every contact, every piece of information I gathered while trying to sabotage you. I'm also sending a formal apology to the board and my former employer, taking full responsibility for my actions. I studied her carefully. Why now? Because you were right, she said quietly, about everything. I've spent my whole life playing a role, the successful daughter, the corporate star. I tried to destroy you because you achieved real success on your own terms. It terrified me because it showed how hollow my life was. She turned to leave, then paused. I'm starting over. Small company, entry-level position, earning things for real this time. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you taught me more by letting me fail than our parents ever did by helping me succeed. I waited until she reached the door. Angela? She turned back, hope flickering across her face. Send me your resume in a year, I said. Not for a leadership role. But if you're serious about earning things properly, well, we're always looking for people willing to work their way up. A single tear rolled down her cheek, but she nodded briskly and left without another word. 6 months later, Palmer Technologies has grown beyond even my ambitious projections. We're developing groundbreaking software, creating jobs, and building something meaningful. Mom and Dad still send occasional messages, usually when they need something or want to show off to their friends. I maintain polite but distant contact, no longer seeking the approval I once desperately wanted. The corner office they thought I didn't deserve has a perfect view of the Austin skyline. Sometimes in the evening, I watch the sunset and think about success, family, and the price of being underestimated. Angela sent me a Christmas card last week. No manipulative message, no asking for help. Just a simple note. You succeeded not because of our family's support, but despite its absence. I'm finally learning to do the same. Maybe that's the real revenge, not destroying those who hurt us, but building something so magnificent that their attempts to tear us down become footnotes in our success story. The quiet one, the coder, the sister they underestimated. Turns out I was the successful one all along. They just couldn't see it until it was too late.